Sue, talk to us. What did people miss at 10X this year?
I don't think they missed. You know what I missed? I missed hugging you goodbye. And then I went back to look for you and you were gone. And I didn't get that last hug. So I'm sorry, Joe.
I'm sure we will again embrace after you make me obscenely rich. I'll make a point of hugging you.
I'll make a point of coming to Washington to hug you personally.
Okay. Well, I mean, people invested more in your company than I have, so you're going to have a lot of time on your hands, I guess.
Let's hope.
Fly around and hug your investors.
That's right.
And tell the kind folks at home, while this is not a solicitation, they should do their own work and check with their financial advisor. You will do another round.
Yes,
So they
we
can
are.
also
And I
buy
think there
action.
may be some more money in Maryland's pot to get you that 33% back. And we've moved to a hub zone, so it might even be 50% you get
What's
back.
this now? 50%?
Hmm.
Okay. So now I'm good. Now I can't retire. I need more money so that I can invest at the 50% rate.
Correct.
Amazing. Um, Nellie, tell us a story. What did you enjoy? What did people miss?
I really love the AI discussions, the reimbursement, and the people. Honestly, it's the people that just made everything great because all the discussions were great. It was like reconnecting with family and talking and seeing how everybody's doing. So that's what I think everybody missed is that connection.
Mhm.
And the speakers, I mean, they were extraordinarily knowledgeable and brought a lot to the table.
Yes. So no, it was really, let me put it this way. If I usually go to a conference, I usually fall asleep. I didn't fall asleep. So that's your cue of how great it was. I get bored in conferences.
I applaud you. You were one of the few that successfully multitasked for 2 days.
Yeah, my business can't stop without me, unfortunately.
But
But yeah,
still, I mean, that's the only way I could get through a conference. Either I'm hosting it or I get to walk around and interrupt people and play my movie favorites, or I have to be on my phone or my computer because I cannot, no matter how interesting the talk, I can't possibly sit for 2 days and listen.
I even ran
And I
payroll during the conference.
Even what?
I even ran payroll during the conference because my people had to be paid.
Nice. Susie, what?
well, I think there was a lot of camaraderie and I made a couple of new friends.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
who'd you meet for the first time?
Um, Dustin, he was very interesting guy. He's with the carpal tunnel that his partner was an orthopedic surgeon that came up with this easy way to do carpal tunnel surgery that's very less invasive and unfortunately he died, so Dustin's kind of left holding this company. And what I
I'm
thought
sorry,
was
was his
really
partner his father?
no,
no,
just a friend. They
a
just met and they
friend.
bonded.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I have to say
his
this, how extraordinary this was to me. I was so moved. Um, at the very end, I went around and I asked some of the new folks whether they got what they hoped and such. And this young man who flew out on Tuesday told us that his father died on Monday.
That was Dustin, yeah.
And
And
he
but
still said, you
he
know what, I'm still
researched
gonna go.
everybody, he researched everybody that was at that conference. He knew everything about frog.
Hmm, hmm, that's extraordinary.
And out of all the conferences that he picked to go to, he picked 10X because he thought that would be the most enjoyable. And I think it was. I mean, I hate going to conferences sometimes, but I really look forward to going to 10X.
I have to give the athlete award to Luke Hyman, who flew in from the Kingdom of the Netherlands and flew into LAX and then took a bus to Long Beach and then put on his inline skates and skated 22 miles to and from the conference. He got all suited up at the end with his like bike shorts on and his tight fitting shirt, muscular body, and put on his skates and just left with his
I saw
bag.
him. I thought he was doing it recreational. I didn't know it was his transportation.
That's his main source of transportation. I think it's
No,
it's somewhere
right now it's an
between,
Uber.
it's a climate change thing. I think that's his. Now he's resorted to some kind of gas
Uber.
powered machine. Maren, what struck you about this one as my second most senior member of the group, there for her 7th time?
I finally started to understand more about reimbursement after listening to Nick talk about this for I don't know how many times.
What
But
was it about this Nick presentation that made it different than all those that preceded it?
I think it was just me getting a lot more familiar with what the terms are and working a little bit more with reimbursement with some of my clients. But you know, the whole HCPCS versus CPT versus private insurance and the DRG and all of that structure, I'd never really quite understood it,
Mhm.
but now I feel like, oh, at least I understood how it's configured now. It seems like it's a constantly changing landscape.
Mhm.
But I thought that was, I appreciated it and didn't feel like I got lost in his presentation for the first time.
Mhm.
Because
Maybe it's because this was the one that had absolutely no slides except the invisible one that he presented.
yeah, I think it was just more that I had to hear the topic multiple times before I could kind of sort it out in my head.
Once again, I remember the part where if somebody says reimbursement, I just tell them to ask Nick.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only part that I need to remember.
Yeah.
It's funny, a couple weeks ago, and I told Nick this, I actually thought of Nick because my son got his, he went to the doctor and he got his first end of explanation of benefits. And he goes, this is what they charge. This is what the insurance, but now the insurance says I owe $500. I'm like, no, you don't. Wait till the hospital bills you because they'll just actually not bill you for that. And he's like, what? I go, yeah. I go, that's just some sort of insurance scam or reimbursement scam. I go, just throw it away. It's not value. But he was really panicking. He's like, this doesn't make sense. And we were laughing. We had a good laugh on that one.
Patricia, this was your first time?
Yes, I was really happy. First of all, you're awesome in person.
Go on.
It's so fun and great personality and just like you make everything come together. Sometimes I go to conferences, I don't want to name them. They have like a lot more like people there and the hosts are very, very formal and it's just a little bit more rigid. And you can't show your own personality. And I think making those natural connections was a lot better. Jose had mentioned, I don't know how to say his last name. I probably should be.
Borges.
Yeah. What is
And
it?
when I give
Bojorquez?
extra deference, I add a couple of O's. So it's Borges. He has his PhD from MIT in engineering.
Yeah. And he mentioned, he had this great thing that he mentioned the last day, yesterday, right?
Mhm.
He said that this isn't the type of conference that you would go like buy something. Like you can't just get a client. And he noticed that at this conference he's made more connections, organic connections with some people that might be competitors, but then you see a need from someone who's a potential competitor and you just recommend them instead. And I believe in this like collaborative symbiotic relationship. And so he didn't mention that symbiotic part, but I feel like that's the best way to grow. Sometimes your own solution might not fit what someone else wants. Why not give it to someone who and then it can be exchanged.
He
Like,
said that he had gone to LSI like weeks earlier, and it's much more, it was like $4,000, and many more people. They have like a 6 or 7 figure marketing budget and whole production value and all this stuff. He says he's gone twice and has never gotten any business. And that one's like designed for like scanning badges and stuff like that. And he said here, the first time he came, he was disappointed to learn that so few manufacturers would be there. And I can tell you almost every single one of the 14, no more than a third of the people who attend are manufacturers. It's a lot of consultants. And I've been mindful of that. In fact, whenever I distribute the guest list, I sort it in such a way that manufacturers show up on top. So people who are coming for the first time are like, oh, these are legitimate companies. I've never heard of J.R. Stockton LLC. What the fuck is that? And they're like, well, I'm not going to sell him anything. I want to sell him my solution. And so like they come and they're disappointed that there aren't more prospects. But with like maybe a handful of exceptions, almost to a person, they say what you said, that they made connections that were far more valuable and that they could collaborate with and potentially refer business to and from, even
yeah,
work on a project together because of similar but complementary skills. I mean, Nellie has competitors essentially in Michelle Lott and Rob Packard, and she's either
And
referred
Morin.
and Marin. Have you collaborated on a project with them, or has it been like handoffs? They hand to you, you hand to them?
No, actually, so we have had discussions on collaborations. Rob and I've had several, but he got very busy. It's more and more of a stylized, like, so sometimes I don't fit, but Michelle or Rob will be a better fit. And so that's really where it is, because we all have,
You four have rather distinct personalities.
yes. And so
Yeah.
that's
If you
really
want a
where it
Marin,
comes
you
into
don't
it.
want a Nellie. If you want a Michelle, you don't want a Rob.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think there's an opportunity for myself and Michelle to work with Sue. Yeah, and like Rob, once he pulls out from what project he's on, I'm going to be where he and I are going to collaborate on something. We've talked about it several times.
Yeah, I
So
was glad that
collaboration's been in the pipeline. We just haven't gotten to it yet.
Andre, I know that you had quite legitimate this time reason for not being able to attend. How are things going?
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, good. I would have loved to have had you and Randy in the room at the same time.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but I'm glad
But
he was
I was delighted that he came out and he participated as he did.
well, he was very pleased,
For those
pleased
of
to
you
be
who were
there.
in the room, and after Mark Scolioso presented, and I said, I'm already getting feedback. The feedback I read was from Randy. And he said, I'll even, for Andre's sake, I'll read what he wrote. So Mark Viscoliosi he and his brothers have invested $800 million in various ortho and spine related ventures, and has so far returned to investors $3 billion. So he's done pretty well. And after he presented, Randy wrote me and said, fabulous presentation. His engagement with the audience and his care for the subject are phenomenal. And I couldn't agree more. He was so, it's like Dave Albert, untold wealth. And I have to imagine that the pediatric cardiac surgeon, who happens to be the head of the cardiology department at Children's Hospital, is also doing pretty well for himself. And Mauricio, who I don't know, where's his island? I don't fucking know. And he worked directly for Bill Gates. These people, it wouldn't be a shock if they had a bit of an ego and a bit of a distance. And they were so warm and so genuine about, just love, I mean, this was Dave's third time coming. This was Anthony's fifth time coming, Mauricio's fourth. Just that they come back every year is just so. And I also was very touched that when it was time for the all famous ice cream break, Michelle stopped the proceedings and said, "Wait." And she came to the front of the room and she presented me with a gift. And do I have them in this room? Well, I unpacked quickly last night. I don't know if I do. She presented me with 2 engraved ice cream spoons and an engraved ice cream scoop. The scoop says Joey's Scoop, and the spoons say Joe's Ice Cream Spoon. And I put them immediately to use because there was a miscommunication with the team and they thought ice cream was at 2:45, but it was at 2:30. And so they brought out the mint chocolate chip first. And as they went back to get the other flavors, I was in there scooping. I was just not willing to wait any longer. I served other people as well, but I did eat first.
And you paid the price later.
Behavior, but you know, there were a couple times I was like, you know, fuck it, it's my last time, I don't care. And so Elizabeth, tell us, what were you doing while we were all out there having fun? I know you had a conflict.
Yeah, so my daughter is getting married, you know,
Right.
tomorrow out there. So I haven't left yet, so I could not come to 10X.
Yes. Daughter weddings tend to get,
Daughter's wedding at Joshua Tree National Park.
yes.
In
So
the
was the wedding, or is it this
No, it's
weekend?
happening. It's now happening, but it's just in the preparation. I just could not go and come back and go back out there. I
Is
just,
it this weekend or was it
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
you're home now.
I am. I'm leaving shortly.
Okay. And so you live where behind me?
I'm sorry,
Where do you live?
San Antonio, Texas.
Right, I thought so. And then, and the wedding is where?
Joshua Tree National Park.
How far is that from your home? I have no idea.
It's in California by Palm Springs.
Oh, okay, I thought it was a flight. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's in Palm Springs. Anyway,
Okay, Patricia, again.
I really am sorry that I missed it because as everyone's
You had
talking about,
that was legit.
yeah,
It's not like the typical Andre bullshit where it's his anniversary and his wife wants to go somewhere.
no, I have been and still am very connected to the people, as everyone was mentioning, that I've met through Joe and through this group, this Friday group, and I've engaged with at least 5 people, and I'm still engaged with Nick is one, so that, and Michelle Lott. Anyway, there's just a group. So I really am grateful to having made this connection, and we are have commercialized our product finally. So we now have 3 sales under our belt, and another time for another story on that. But anyway, so I'm very grateful to
Let's do that in an upcoming Friday.
sometime.
I'd like to
Anyway,
hear
so
the-
I'm sorry to have missed it.
I know. You know, you're the only, to my recollection, you're the only film star we ever had at the conference.
Probably, possibly so.
Yeah. I mean, it was brief,
For another day.
but it was worthwhile to see that clip of you. Luke, I specifically asked folks in the audience to raise their hand as I called off the number of scoops they had. And I thought that I had the most scoops at 7. You're writing in the comments here that you had 11
Yeah, but
scoops.
He
You
raised his
just
hand.
stopped counting. You just
I
stopped
no,
counting.
I
You
said
did-
I said 7 or more.
I raised my hand.
I didn't see it.
I kept my hand raised all the time.
Hmm.
But does it comfort you?
It does a
That's
bit.
mostly
and,
vanilla.
You know, even though that next morning I slept very poorly. I don't typically have GI issues, but there was some combination of heartburn, acid reflux, gas, lactose intolerance. I had a very poor night's sleep. And despite all of that, as we were leaving, there was one churro left and that big pot of thick chocolate fudge. And after I finished the churro, I was just eating the fudge off the spoon, and I didn't feel well on the plane either. But luckily, I'm retired now, and I'm going to sleep immediately after this call. And Jennifer and I have hour-long massages scheduled for 1:30 in the afternoon. So this is going to go just fine. For those who missed and or those who had to leave early, there was a lot of talk at the end. It was really a theme throughout about how I came to the decision that this would be the last one, and yet, not terribly surprisingly, comments I got during the event ranged from "This isn't really the last one, is it?" or "You simply can't stop doing it," or "I'm sure you'll be back," or "What do I have to do to get you to do it again?" or something like that. And so for the last half hour, I talked about how I came to the decision and why, and I repeated often that I will gladly show up anywhere any of you want to fly me, hand me a microphone, and ask me to play videos and insult my guests. I'll do that all day long. But I don't want to put up 40,000 at a hotel. I don't want to worry whether you got your room on time before the cutoff, or if I hit my occupancy promise, hit my food and beverage minimum, and be depressed the entire month of April as I email people and call them and say, "Can you come? Are you coming? Oh, did that happen? Did you get the budget approval? Oh, I'm so sorry. What happened to him? Oh, I hope he gets better. Will I see you next year?" It's just too much. I just don't want to do that anymore. And so I asked rhetorically, I said, the number of you have said you don't want this to be the last one. How badly do you not want this to be the last one? I don't want you to speak. I don't want to look at your faces. I don't want you to raise your hands. But among those who feel compelled that they want this not to stop, how many of you would be willing to invest, not money, but time, at least 10 hours in the next year to get someone else to come or bring a speaker or something? Because in my experience, the most enthusiastic, well-intentioned people who really can't understand, why isn't this bigger? How come there aren't more people here? What? And yet they return the next year, if they do, but they return the next year with no one with them, with the exception of Marin and Marvin. I don't know of, I can't off the top of my head think of people who referred people that ended up coming. Jorg's been an advocate forever, and he says, "Have you talked to the people at Octane? Have you talked to the people at this? Have you this? Have you that?" And yet they don't come. And so I actually was trying to send a message out on LinkedIn today, tagging a number of folks. And after I tagged everyone and spent 15 minutes on the post, LinkedIn decided that the post button would be grayed out and that I should do it all over again. Why? Because LinkedIn. So I'll do that later. But the whole message is basically, if you know, you know. And that is that the people who know in return know what our community is. And even, they poked a little fun at me and said, "Aren't you a marketer? I mean, can't you let people know?" And I was like, "Yeah, but for those of you who are like, you have that huge group," I say, well, for 6 years, I talked to people every single week and had a following. And then for 6 years now, I've been silent because LinkedIn removed the ability for me to send a message out to 250,000 people a week. So throw in silence and a global pandemic and me not really posting anymore because I'm just tired. And so, my sphere of influence is a fraction of what it was. And nobody at Medtronic ever needed to come because they have connections out the wazoo. It's for the smaller teams that find the value in. I would never have met Nick. I never would have met Nellie and Marin. I would never have known about contract manufacturing had it not been for Andre, that kind of stuff. So I did ask for a show of hands of those, because they were asking, "So are you going to continue the Friday calls?" And frankly, I had planned to tell you all that this would be the last weekly call and that I would immediately shift bi-weekly. And I asked people to raise their hand, who would be willing to commit to either being or finding a speaker once a quarter. And 14 people raised their hands. And with 14/13ths of the month of the quarter covered, I'll show up every Friday. And I don't have to worry about, oh crap, I don't have anyone for next Friday. Because after 222 of these, it's increasingly difficult. I mean, there's just so many times that we can hear Andre drone on about contract manufacturing. Before people are like, yeah, I heard that guy. He's not going to show up anyhow. So.
Hey Joe, can I
Yes,
ask you something?
yes.
You have your own circle. What kind of presentations would you be interested in?
I'm sorry, what?
What kind of presentations for Friday would you be interested in?
I'm just
Outside of your circle.
I'll try to answer, but you know, I'm just a mirror of what you guys want. These talks aren't for my benefit. I enjoy them, but I'm not making any devices and I'm not planning on taking new clients. This is about, you know, I'll tell you that the last movie I played, I picked deliberately, but it didn't, even as I picked it, I didn't realize at the time how emotional it would make me, because the things that happened, there were 2 points in it that happened that I didn't even register as I picked it. It was the scene from Top Gun Maverick, where Tom Cruise is talking with Val Kilmer. And it was a very sentimental moment. And Val, who, you know, in real life has lost his ability to speak, largely, typed on his computer, "It's time to let go." And I had forgotten that as Matt began to play the video. And I looked up and it said, "It's time to let go," after I had just talked about how I was letting go of this baby of mine. And that struck me, and I was okay. And then Tom said to Val, "I'm only here out of my love for you," which again hit me. And then I started getting a little teary and I looked away because I'm not going to cry in front of you people. But it was rather emotional for me. And I've already had, on my drive home, I was on the phone with Nick Wanless for an hour, who basically said that I don't know how else to, I mean, he basically wants to do what I do. He wants to lead a group. He wants to be an independent consultant. He wants to have a conference. He wants to basically do what I do. And he's 32 and he's got energy. And he was talking most of the time about, you know, I can do this and I can look at, and we can look at the data and we can, you know, put content and I can repurpose. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'll spend time with you. I'll give you the back end keys to the website and you can look over the 1,650 questions that are answered and sitting there that I don't do anything with. There's plenty of content I could have repurposed that I just never did. If you wanna, go ahead. He will be our speaker next week. I had planned to take off, but he had a presentation that talked about how he analyzes data for his marketing. I've long since given up on that, partly out of laziness and partly out of a belief that no matter the result of what, you know, how many impressions or how many this and that, I talk when I have something to say. I'm not gonna, you know, like, oh, this performed like shit, but if I have an insight, I'm still going to present it. So given that it doesn't impact the decisions that I make as a marketer, why do I need to spend a lot of time analyzing it? He appropriately has a different approach. God bless the young, am I right, Nick? Mr. Lupo. You got the energy, you want to do it? I'm here to support it. But like I said, in about 18 minutes, I'm going to go upstairs and take a nap.
I was trying to look at the agenda. Who is the person you're just talking about?
Oh, he's not on the agenda. He was, Omar, was to speak on Thursday and he got sick. And, he, asked Nick to step in for him.
Got it. Got it. Very cool. I was actually going to ask if anybody had any takeaways from Gunter. How was
He
that?
also was sick. His
Oh, he was
daughter
sick.
was sick. Those were the two
Okay.
people who had to cancel last minute. And again, having done this enough times, I'm not unfamiliar with the what? You're supposed to be on in an hour. What do you mean you're not showing phenomenon? But again, because of the family that we have, I'm like, okay, and we just roll with it. And that's when we had a little frog session and we learned about Marvin came up and who else came up? Of course, Olu did, but there was someone else. Oh, it was Lopetti came up. I wanted him to share about how last year he was coming and he said, I'm sorry, I have to cancel. They say there's nothing they can do to save my grandbaby. And so he had to cancel because he anticipated his granddaughter's death. And that was a year ago, and she's 1 and progressing. It's still, going to be a tough road for her, but he said it was nothing shy of a miracle. And I was just so happy for him. And I wanted to share that joy with the group.
Well, I heard feedback from people who are out there. I have some secret spies, and they said that they had an amazing time. And there's people on this call right now that they had a blast meeting. And I'm bummed that I wasn't able to make it, but I know that you're not, you as much as you can try to step away, I know you're not going to be able to. So I'll see you.
It's funny. Before the conference, people were telling me that. I'm like, you know what? Let me give you my mother's number because she's like, Joey, you're too young. Why are this is not appropriate behavior for an upper middle class white Christian 57-year-old. You're supposed to work until you're at least 65 and provide for your family. What are you doing? And I'm like, Mom, okay, thanks. I'm just done. And she's like, well, talk to your sister. And I'm like, you talk to my sister. So if any of you want to get on the phone with Sylvia, I'm sure she would take your call. She's been praying for me to change my mind, but so far,
It's not going to hit you till you step away.
You mean in 14 minutes?
Yes.
I don't know.
You're one nap away from
I'll tell you already, like I went through a lot of emails that hit me at Medical Marcom, Medical Devices Group, Medical Device Events. And I was like, don't need to ever receive this MDDI online email again. I don't ever need to receive this one. I was just unsubscribe, 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 unsubscribe. I'm more done than you give me credit for. I have no work plan today. I might reconcile a few things, but that's about it. Anything else anyone wants to say?
Hey Joe, this is Michelle.
Hi.
I couldn't turn the video on because it's almost midnight here. So after working 16 hours, 5 days straight, I'm exhausted. But I just want to say thank you for all those weekly sessions, and just like Nick said, we hope to see you. And then next year, if we can go, we're for sure to go because I'm in Taipei this week to finish a 5-year contract with my Belgian clients, and that's a big deal. So we signed some exclusive contracts. So
nice.
Yeah,
The
but
business is going well for you.
well, I have two jobs. One
No,
is
I
I'm
know. I
trying,
wasn't talking
yeah,
about your Nick association. I was talking about the other thing.
yeah. So yeah, that part I'm doing pretty well. So what I'm trying to do is what I earn from that part, try to see if we can get Aurora go. So,
Mhm.
sorry we missed your 10X this year. But
Okay.
thank you for all you have
I
helped
will,
us.
I will let you know, just to give you a ray of hope, if you will. On the plane, I composed an email and I wrote the folks at the Hyatt and I said, just a thought, what is the absolute lowest food and beverage minimum? What is the absolute lowest room count to which I'd need to commit to give us the garden room again next year? So I'll see what she says. So that it's easier for someone else to hit the minimums, because that's not gonna be on it.
Very kind of you.
Mhm. Anything else for the good of the order?
I always believe the door is open wherever we go. And you open some doors for me, Joe, and one day other doors will open for you.
They're gonna be doors to various bedrooms and places to nap, Elizabeth.
Oh, okay. It's always
It
good
might
to,
be, open the doors to the vacation.
Well, it may just be that next 10X where we have an actual nap session.
oh, there we go. Now that sounds clever.
Yes.
If we did,
Get
I
those
would say
Google
that
nap
if we
nap
do it,
pods.
if we do it in like a kindergarten style where we all lay down on the floor, that would be fun. If we all like go to our rooms and I'll see you in 3 hours, then that's just a routine nap for me. That's not a thing. Actually, I
Maybe
do
we
one
could have
more
a
thing.
meditation session.
There is
With your ice cream.
you can all inject us with something with your frog. I don't know what kind of stuff you have access to can you still do anything pharmaceutical as a pharmacist, or is that like all labs?
Yeah, no, I'm still licensed in 3 states. I
But you
can.
can't write a script or anything.
I
Pharmacists write a
probably
script?
could. Well, they can for certain meds.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could inject everybody with ashwagandha and magnesium and put them to sleep, right?
Do we have are there any like mood enhancing things that you're licensed to inject us with?
Right now, I've got epinephrine and vitamin K, just in ampule form. So I
Those
can
people laughing,
order drugs
I have
online.
no idea what the effect of an epinephrine
I
It'll
think it
keep
might
you
be a little bit,
alive.
yeah, it might be a little bit more mood enhancing than you expect.
Yeah.
What is epinephrine?
It's a life-saving drug that's used when people are in cardiac arrest.
Okay,
And
so administering it to those not in cardiac arrest, what happens?
it probably would give you a heart attack.
Okay, so that would be bad for business.
That would be bad. And
That
vitamin
would be the
K
last 10X
stops
if you gave
bleeding,
us
so
all
that would,
heart attacks.
yeah, no. I like my ashwagandha magnesium
I'm
cocktail.
thinking that if we do it again next year, that we should, I'm actually serious. I'd like to throw this out. What do you think? That we should call it 20X, because it won't just be me. And that'll be a way of like kind of leveraging the 10X brand, but letting people know that this is not Joe's anymore. This is ours. What do you think? What's your
I think
first
that's
impression?
smart.
Maren gave a
I like it.
simple nose. I don't think Maren likes the idea.
No, I think that it gives you an opportunity to rebrand. I'll
Mhm.
miss 10X because, it's been a lot
But
of
this
fun.
could be twice as good.
But
That's
if
right.
it's twice as good and, there's 2 ice cream breaks, then
Well, one of
Good
you is
point.
going to be funding the $5,000 expense for 2 ice cream breaks, not me.
Why
And
is it
then one
called
last thing.
10X in the first place,
Sorry, what?
Joe? Why was it called 10X in the first place?
The very first iteration I thought of, it was not even going to be called a conference. It was going to be called the 10X Accelerators something, I don't even remember now. Because I wanted it to be like what they do with what Paul Brand does, where young companies can really accelerate their growth by meeting you people. And then I realized that as a marketer, I realized that accelerators is not a noun that people understand. So I needed to baseline it with the word conference so people can go like, oh, a conference. I know what a conference is. What is about this conference? And I chose 10X because I thought of it as exponential growth. And after I named it, I was like, actually, 10 times is not exponential. That's not what exponential means. Oh, fuck, it's fine. That's how it came up to be 10X. One more story, and this one really delights me to my core. I know from stories that Nellie tells and Elizabeth, who all the people that she met and works with, I know and am quite pleased that I've played a role, however tangential, in your progress, successes, etc. And that makes me very happy. I know that, and I shared with the group that Rob Packard tells me that the workshop he did at 10X that was recorded and shared on YouTube and watched more than 40,000 times has made him hundreds of thousands of dollars in referrals and business. This delights me. Yesterday, I believe I found my single greatest accomplishment in Alyssa Huffman, that when I don't even remember how exactly we met 3 years ago, but I immediately said, you have to come to 10X, and she did. And I began to understand her product. I gave her a fast round, and I was like, you are gonna, and I've been talking with her and advising here and there. And then Tiger Buford, for those of you who know, is a recruiter in the ortho space that she's in. And he got in touch with me last year and asked for my help to build his own community. He calls it Bone Chat. And he didn't plan on it, but I said, look, the main value of MDG Premium is the Friday call. So yes, I'll show you how to set up Slack. I'll show you how to this. I'll show you how to that. But you've got to have a weekly call. And so he agreed. And, in the first couple of weeks, I was very, very involved with him and seeing like, who is he getting and what do they do, etc. And he got a man named Mark Viscoliosi to present. And I shared earlier briefly that he's a very successful capitalist who's raised 800 million and converted it into 3 billion. And when I learned that he was speaking on Bone Chat, I got in touch with Alyssa and I said, I don't know what you're doing on Thursday. You have to pay the $100, join Tiger's thing, and be on this call with Mark. And she connected there a little bit, and then he started noticing her on his LinkedIn feed, and she was leaving these intelligent comments, and then like he looked her up a little bit, and then they ran into one another quite by accident at a conference. He accepted a meeting with her, and he is now likely her lead investor. He spoke for 45 minutes, and then I asked her to come to the stage with him, and I asked them to share their story about, Alyssa, I asked Mark, how many meetings do you take a year? He said, I might take like maybe 3 a month. It's, it takes a lot to get my attention. And you took one with Alyssa. What did you see? And Alyssa, what was your approach? Because everyone wants to talk to him, and they told their story, and I was compelled to go behind them because they were like, it was like a love match. She even said at one point, like, I'm ready to propose to him. And I went behind them and I said, next season on The Golden Bachelor. So, they basically all but, verbally signed a contract in the front of the room. And as exciting as that is, when I got on the plane, Alyssa wrote me. I want to read to you verbatim what she said. Thank you so much for such a phenomenal event, Joe. You have no idea how much it means to me to have you as an advocate and friend. Fun fact, Mauricio committed to lead our raise with or without the Viscoliosi brothers. I'm absolutely in shock and no, I would not have gotten this far without you planting the seed. Sorry I had to run so quickly. I literally made the plane with 1 minute to spare. And then she went on to say that like she doesn't know what to do now. Should she have 2 lead investors? Should she defer to
Good
Mark
problem.
because she all but proposed on, I'm like, you kind of proposed to Mark. I don't know what it would say to him if you accepted, Maurizio over him. On the other hand, isn't the point of a lead investor to have the brand equity and faith that, wow, Sequoia's behind you? If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And so if that's the case, why isn't it? It's good enough for Maurizio and Mark. It's good enough for me. I don't see any harm in having 2 lead investors. Maren, you do this stuff. Is there any detraction from having 2 lead investors?
Typically, lead investors will take a significant part of the round. So it could
Of the
be-
round, yeah.
So if she's got 2 leads, she may have the round full, which doesn't leave room for maybe other strategic investors to come in.
I happen to know, and she shared, and I'm oversharing, that she has funded this thing herself.
Yeah.
She has liquidated her 401k. It's like, how am I going to make payroll? She is there. So I'm pretty confident that if she had twice the raise she anticipated, she might be able to replenish some of her savings and, eat fewer.
That would be the other thing is if they both want 40%, or if they can both take 40% of the round and leave 20 for somebody else, or it's, but I don't know that there's any reason you can't have 2 leads.
I don't know. I mean, is there a reason why you'd want to limit the round? Given how much exponential growth lays in front of her, is there like, I wouldn't raise more than. Bye, Rick. Thank you.
Well, the more you raise, then the more that starts diluting the other investors.
Yeah.
So that's where the balance is.
I'll have her get in touch with you.
Okay.
Have a conversation.
Say
Yeah.
thank you, Joe, for that quick speed run because I think I have an investor.
From that?
Yep.
Someone in the room? Can you?
That's why I couldn't go hug you because I was talking to him.
Was it
I'll
Mark?
tell you offline. No.
Okay, tell me offline. Just type me. I'll stay awake long enough to read it.
And Sue, I'm actually heading through Frederick end of the month, so maybe we can get coffee
Oh,
or
let's
something.
get together and go to happy hour or something.
Right.
Definitely,
I
I'll
gotta
make time to
drop.
see you.
Lauren,
Okay.
thanks. Hey, I didn't
right.
ask you, Sue. The
Yeah, you
bridge
dropped.
collapse. Does that affect you personally?
Oh, there she is.
Wasn't
The bridge, yes. Yes.
the
Every
bridge
time
is-
I have to go to Baltimore, just like that traffic, and there's an exit for the harbor. When I'm going that way, it's an extra, you have to give yourself an extra half an hour to an hour because of the traffic is so bad.
What are the alternatives to taking that bridge?
Well, there's workarounds. I don't have to take that bridge, but the traffic through just that exit is just horrible.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
asking, are there multiple bridges for that span?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Maryland, so.
Yeah, but it's just makes everything else more congested.
Mhm.
And Baltimore sucks anyhow. It's almost as bad as LA.
Have they identified all of the fatalities?
I think there might be still one missing.
Okay. Well, on that positive note,
Have
we
a
started
great
talking
rest.
about death, we end in death, and we had some fun in the middle. Until next week, folks.
See you soon.
All right. Good night.
Wonderful.
Good night.
Have a great rest. Keep
Bye.
the door open.
Enjoy that massage.
Oh, you bet. In fact, my Lucas gave it to us a year and a half ago. And I was like, I think I have an occasion to use it.
There we go.
All right. Good night.
Thank you for
So
everything,
much good
Jeff.
stuff. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.